afternoon, gamers. Welcome back.
Greetings.
We are Red Seal Gaming, and this is the Red Seal Roundup. We're back in action for number 3.
Yep, episode number 3.
Once again, I am Dan, RSG Primarch on Discord, and this is...
I am Death March, Sal.
And we're back again for number 3, so let's get right into it. Try to cut down on the banter a little bit because we do it a lot when we get into it. So our first segment, as always, is going to be news for the week, and we have some more Games Workshop news, which is a good thing.
Yes.
We're looking at combat patrols for Space Marines, AdMech, and Necrons.
Yeah, the 3 new 40k combat patrols. They look pretty good. I mean, the Necron one looks actually kind of awesome. It comes with one of those with a scythe flyers, a bunch of immortals. The thing is the older HQ slot in there. It's like kind of the one that they kind of like we're putting the old model in that box.
Well, they always seem to do that sometimes.
Yeah,
but they also have the clan packs releasing for the new model for the Chronomancer
in conjunction. And then the Space Marines one, these two are finally here. It seems like it took forever for you think these would have been out with Indominus around those times, when those combat patrols would have been really on the back end of that. So these were lost in the war, perhaps.
I don't know. Yeah, pandemic maybe.
Yeah,
combination of typical time gaps in GW product along with pandemic. I mean, we're still living in a crazy world, which we'll get into a little later in the second segment. We also have some Warhammer Fest animation coming this weekend. Yeah,
Saturday looks like the get up early on
Eastern time. Anyway.
Yeah, it's early for Eastern. Whatever they're in England, it's like the afternoon for them. But it's hopefully going to highlight all of their animation that they're working on. I'm really hoping that it's. I mean, things like it's mostly 40k.
Yes.
I'm hoping we get some Age of Sigmar.
It is mostly Grimdark right now.
Yeah.
The Age of Sigmar one, as we were talking about earlier, it looks like it is mostly teen, preteen. I'm hoping for a little more,
just anything,
adult oriented.
Just show. I think the biggest problem, everybody's seen 40k, everybody knows 40k, everybody knows what High World looks like. Everybody's played. There's only dozens of 40k video games, but I think Age of Sigmar,
hundreds of 40k video games.
Someone listed them all once on a thing.
The IP has been hoarded out a lot lately. It's crazy. Yeah.
But the whole idea is Age of Sigmar with rebranding the 3rd edition. I think they really need to show us, what does it look like to be in Anvilmar? Like, give me a realms of fire city. I want to see what the everyday life is like there. Or
we just have the global view. We don't have a zoomed in view of
it's
what these planes look like.
Snippets of art that they show, and you see the grand promenade going into a city or a realm gate or something. But I want to see you want to see a Stormcast Eternal ride the lightning and crash to the ground.
That would be fan. Do the hero pose. He's gonna do the hero landing. Let's see it.
So I think
they just made the mini for it.
Yeah, I mean,
let's get
it's there. I mean,
let's get the anime for it.
It'd be really cool to see it envisioned in that way,
or a cartoon for it. I'm sorry, it's really not anime if it's not from Japan.
Yeah, well, I guess right. It's it's.
I don't want to step on anybody's toes. It's possible.
Yeah, it could be an anime style.
It's animated.
It depends on the anime. Anime is also its own style. So there might be some of them that maybe lend more of that animation style, but who knows? We'll see. But we'll see what they're gonna. Now, my question is, are they gonna reveal? I mean, they did it with the Black Library Day. They actually showed miniatures on Black Library Day when I thought it was just going to be about the books. Yeah. So maybe they'll sneak in a miniature here and two. Maybe like a miniature that's associated with the cartoon.
That would be a great tie-in. I mean, that's the whole point of this, right? To get more people into the tabletop version is put the animated series out there.
Yeah, and
then people you could play a game with this, which is what Dawn of War did.
Yes,
on the video game side.
Ravens
how many people would come in and be like, oh, that's the video game I play. I never knew that there was minis for it.
Yeah, Blood Ravens weren't even a faction, so it's they became a new chapter because of the video game. So
Truth. Yeah.
So that'd be cool to see anything for any of those iconic heroes that might become, who knows? I mean, the next big hero might come out of the animation. That's a named character that could go into armies and stuff like that. So we'll see. I mean, this is GW's first foray into this realm of doing it themselves, a big studio.
And you talk about iconic heroes. I would love to see more of that on the Age of Sigmar side. See them in the anime.
Yeah, I mean, give me Sigmar. Animate Sigmar and seeing him.
I don't know if they'd go that far right off the bat. That would be kind of cool if they did.
Because the Emperor is not, the Emperor is in his throne. It's not something that you don't even see in the game, but for all intents and purposes, Age of Sigmar, Nagash is always around. He's doing things. He's on the field of battle. So like, having them show up in animation would be, hearing his voice. So some really cool things they could do. So we'll see. Hopefully Saturday is the same kind of, hopefully it's not a short reveal. Hopefully
I hope it's not too much of a tease. I hope it's like maybe at least like a nice good like 1 minute segment of each anime or animation.
And getting the whole menu of,
and also maybe some release dates finally too.
Yeah,
how about
like when
here it's coming, this fall. Here's the date. Give me a date.
How many titles?
Right now, I mean, they've been teasing us since last year, since like September.
Yeah,
they've been teasing this.
Pandemic could be also the people working from home. The studios are working from home right now.
Probably. I mean, that we've seen again. We'll touch on pandemic issues later in the third segment today. But also on the news front, we have some more X-wing news. The Trident class assault ship. For Epic.
Big squid ship's coming.
The squid. Wait, hold on. Let's do the squid for our Discord.
Great
base.
Memes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's the first Epic ship that CIS is going to get. Instead of borrowing the Sea-Rock.
Modified.
Yeah. It's still there for them in Epic, but now they're getting their own dedicated ship, and it's like badass. I think in the Clone Wars, attacks Kamino, lands, dumps all the droids inside. It's a really cool vessel, but seeing it on the tabletop is going to be cool. And the fact that they're giving a AI deck so we can play a multiplayer game when we're all basically trying to take it down together, that's going to be interesting.
Which is one of the best things for a game like that is an alternate play method.
Yes.
Instead of, we do Aces High in the store a lot as like an introductory way to get people into X-Wing instead of going right into list building and stuff like that. Yeah. This is another way, perhaps, other than Aces High, to get somebody into it. Say, hey, listen, here's a pre-built ship. We're all going to work together instead of a competitive. This way, it's not a competitive atmosphere. Sometimes people get a little anxious about competing against somebody,
especially in their first forays into a game, knowing that I'm going one-on-one. This is like a group method of taking a larger model down. It's kind of
no competition makes people relax.
Yeah,
it's like, oh, all right, if I mess up, no big deal, and I can help you, and you don't feel less of a player because someone's advising you against somebody else. This is, I'm teaching you how to play the game. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, we're doing it together.
We're doing it together, and then oh, by the way, we could play competitive now too. So,
I'm hoping that it's the same. I'm assuming it's going to be the same Aces High format. People create one ship, or if there's not enough people, you get like certain points value against it.
I'm hoping for some pre-built stuff, which they've done in the past with like the missions.
Yeah, those are pretty.
Just like here's a ship and here's a ship, and then allow for modification for advanced players, of course. But I like the as a store owner, entry level stuff is my favorite stuff because it gets people vested into a game a lot simpler without the competition.
Yeah,
and
but it's cool.
Here's a list. Let's fight, and the ship looks cool.
Yeah, it's
different.
Yeah,
think of all the ships we've seen already. Even looking at the ships they've been bringing into Armada, they're classic Star Wars ships. This is a little bit unusual.
Yeah, this is the lower. It's probably the smaller side of the CIS ships that they could bring in. But it's interesting to see what. This is an FFG product. This is still FFG's creation.
Yeah,
coming.
We still haven't progressed yet to
it's really cool to
AMG.
see what they were. This is also a look into the world of what they were hoping for in the future, and maybe it gets cut off at some point because the move over. But maybe they were going to support Epic more. Maybe there was more Epic ships in the pipeline. This was the first one to take the leap into the game. But I can't wait to see it. It's an impressive model and. Really cool.
I'm curious to see more on the transition side of things. Like you said, this is still an FFG project.
Yeah,
it should be. Can't wait to see when maybe within 6 months we could start to see some transition.
Maybe even a year before really anything. Before probably at least a full year before, because they were scheduled to have stuff okayed through 2022, 23, and that was like pre-pandemic.
Are we going to see reprints of some of those? We haven't seen the Actus. Hasn't been distributing.
No. There's a certain wave.
That whole wave.
The whole wave's missing. The gunship,
the LAT,
the LAAT is that whole wave's got caught in a container somewhere, probably sitting.
We'll go. That'll be phase 3 of today's podcast: distribution and allocations. Don't say that word. It's such a big word. That allocations in back order.
Yes,
those words just give me the heebie-jeebies.
We did also have the new rumor engine took on a new format, a new look.
The cog with it looks like
they replaced the border with a cog, which is I want to say it was Soul Wars, or at the end of Soul Wars there was a some kind of chamber underneath Azir that had that kind of look that was like
a motif.
Yeah. So, but I think it's just the motif. It's what inside is really interesting. It looks like, once again, the iconic totems that are on Kragnos' base.
Yes.
So I really think it's a peek into the new faction race, hobgoblins,
for maybe Age of Sigmar,
for this Age of Sigmar box, because it also links to in their terminology when you read it on the community website. It also has the link. It takes you to the new Age of Sigmar page that has a countdown for X amount of days, 11 days as of us taping this. But
really, it's only 11 days.
11 days for them to. I think it's 11 days, not so much for the game's going to land.
Well, for reveals.
Well, they're going to show us the box. I think in 11 days we get the.
What do you put? You're not putting a countdown just to give us a date. You're putting a countdown. You're not going to give us a countdown to give us a countdown.
No,
you give us a countdown to show us something.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I know.
But I think it's a countdown for here's what the product looks like. Now you have a month to fiend out, froth at the mouth, save your funds, and then I think in a month after that reveal,
start the hype train.
Yeah, but the symbol looks. I mean, it almost looks like some. You know what's funny? Someone brought up an image on Twitter of the face looks like the old metal goblin bolt thrower. There was these old stylized faces on the shields and stuff
on front of the ballista.
That's what people made think it's a goblin race because they kind of harken back to that old
appearance.
Remember the old it was a goblin cannon, wasn't it called the lead belcher? Not the lead belcher.
No, lead belcher was ogres.
There was an old
scrap launcher. No, that's also ogres.
This is like first, second edition, like Fantasy Armies, the Orange Book. Goblins had a cannon and it had a face on it. I know Damien had one. I mean, like
I can't remember the name of it.
Oh man, they're gonna look that one up. If anyone remembers what that thing was called, please
throw it in the comments.
Comments below.
But
yeah, so that symbology is, if that's a word, is there. So people are really hearkening that it's a goblin-esque thing. So we'll see. We got 11 days that maybe we'll see something. So, what else we got?
We could touch on the Robotech thing that we saw by Kids Logic.
Yeah, going back to last week's conversation about regrets, there's a company called Kids Logic that I almost feel like they have the same molds that Palladium had.
They look similar.
Someone matched up the new miniatures that they're coming out with.
Scale is the same.
It's the variations are off by. There's actually less pieces. Someone actually showed an officer's battle pod that they built. It was like 30 pieces on a little miniature.
I think they used the same CAD files, but just altered the composition.
Pieces of them. Better made, but this game looks like it's called Robotech Macross, specifically Dogfight, and it almost looks like a X-Wing clone where it's the same maneuver dials. They have a tiered height system with the templates and the miniatures moving. So it's still kind of
fly over ships easier.
Yeah, and I don't know if the fixed maneuvers. Well, I guess we'll have to find out more about the game. But if those fixed maneuvers at heights mean anything in the rule set, because it looks like they kind of stay the maneuver templates at the heights. I don't know if that means anything. But very similar. Like, it has a dial system. It has a bunch of other tokens and pilot cards. Rick Hunter against Chiron.
Let's just hope that this is not another regret conversation in 6 months.
Well, I think it's great though. Is it's a fixed box game, so it looks like it's $70, and that's like the core box. So like the other game never even got past.
No, never got past
I wasn't even
the Gen Con hype.
Yeah,
it was the releases that were coming out that they announced at Gen Con. They had talked about expansions, never came to fruition.
And it was its own system. So the fact that this is in the vein of an X-Wing clone, parts of the mechanic is kind of exciting to see. And it's Robotech, and the miniatures look great. And
I'm a little jaded because it's Robotech, and I still have a love for it, but Harmony Gold has seemed to iron out their issues. Maybe this is the beginning of a little more freedom for companies and a little more less blowback from the Harmony Gold, Macross fight that's been going on for 20-something years.
The Kids Logic website has a lot of the other ship miniatures already made.
Yeah.
They're just not in the game, so people think this is the beginning of this core system that they'll expand upon, but we'll see.
Fingers crossed, right?
Yeah, if we can get a demo box or get a box here and open it up and show everybody, if anybody likes that old 80s era Robotech stuff, we're fiends, so we love that stuff.
All right, the last bit of news is technically not even news anymore because it actually, as of this filming, it releases today. And that is what we have in front of us here, the Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft.
Yes, the regular cover and the special edition cover.
The shiny cover.
They look awesome.
Yes. It also feels good, too, but that's a whole other problem that I have.
Yeah, this book's really, really interesting. Anyone a fan of Ravenloft, It's got all of the classic tropes, but it really fleshes into so much more. You can just look through the actual inside.
What do you have? Damn Fear now?
Yeah, you can actually make playable
so you
race.
can make a vampire.
Vampires, Hexbloods, Reborns. I don't even know what those are because I haven't even delved that far. But just like all the specific tropes of horror, things like cosmic horror, folk horror. Yeah. I'm really into that. Yeah. Ghost stories, gothic horror.
So you have any Cthulhu type stuff in here at all in this one?
The cosmic horror definitely has a. You could really get into the unknown, just beyond the veil of reality kind of feel to your adventures and stuff.
We have one of my personal favorites is the Nosferatu.
Yes, the classic vampire.
Classic vampire.
Yeah, the monsters back there. Yeah. I mean that. There's blood in a vial in a giant thing that's an actual monster. Yeah, so really
interesting. By the way, I can't help but notice that we have the gallows speaker here, and notice the undead with the outreached moaning hand as always.
Which classic. You can make a classic noise.
My classic DM pose.
Yes, perfect. But yeah, I mean, this is definitely people have been raving about this book, saying that it's really got a lot to offer player characters and DMs both.
I didn't notice there's a headless horseman in here.
Yeah, there's their own. It's got its own. It's not just the putting a guy on a nightmare now. Yeah. It's its own monster. And dude, I love the back of this book. It's glossy, and then there's this beautiful matte finish on the back.
And as always, the alt art covers are fantastic.
Yes,
I do like that they are the same price for customers.
Yeah.
So you do have like a nice simple choice. It's not like a matter of finances whether you want to get the nicer one or not. It's just a matter if you can get it or not. Yeah, we happen to have it here at RSG, by the way. Thank you very much.
While supplies last.
While supplies last.
But the alt cover art, I like it. I still I love the original covers they did. Was an artist goes by the name of Hydro. His covers are fantastic.
The Volos, right? Was his first, I think. Was the Volos one the first?
He might have did Volos first. One of them. If you have them, you know what they look like. They're fantastic. But these have been great, and the fact that, like you said, they're offering the same price. It's not a price hike on them.
It's just a matter, get to your LGS and pick it up, which is today, by the way.
Yes.
So, other than that, I think that's it. I think we pretty much covered all the news topics. We'll quickly move into some questions we received last week in the comments on last week's video.
Yep.
All right. The first one is from our buddy Waylin.
Yes.
What is a video game you guys would love to see as a tabletop game? Personally, I would love to see Final Fantasy Tactics as a board game, miniatures game, and I'm going to go right into agreeing with Waylon because we are both fans of Final Fantasy Tactics. I don't know if you remember that game. It had like a little bit of a top-down view. It was
it's a grid system, right?
Grid system, fantasy-based, truly fantasy-based, like, knights, warlocks, clerics, that kind of stuff. And you would have a party-based system. And when combat finally broke out, they put you on this little piece of terrain that was grid-oriented. It had different levels. It had like terrain, like hills, like water, like trees, a block line of sight. As such, things have ranges. There was push and pull effects for that's why they called it tactics, because you could move things around or whatever. But the leveling system was deep.
Yeah, like a big tree system,
really
core base classes, and then the crazy tree.
Crazy tree. And they had like base classes, and then you would acquire levels in certain classes, and then to go into subclasses, you would need 3 levels in this and 3 levels in that, and then you can go down this tree, or you can go down this tree. And then as you played the game and you progressed, you would meet more characters and add to your repertoire of characters you can use. And then you had to balance all right, I want to bring this guy for this fight, but now this guy fell behind a level, so that was always the grind, was making sure all of your characters were of the appropriate level that you needed
to go and do what you had to do.
But you could translate that, I think, into a board game. I mean, relatively simple.
It sounds like a board game, like something that is already a board game.
Well, because it's RPG oriented. I mean, in the end, it's another trope. It's one of our favorite tropes. It's the D&D party, right? So that's all it really is. It was just Square Enix's view or take on the party system in a fantasy-based world. So you could easily have a board set up with hexes. And
in that game too, did your character also, as you leveled, traditional like appearance change? Like they got better, or was it through gear in that game?
Well, it was
like when you get from like a squire and you went to a knight. When
you changed classes, you changed appearance.
Because I'm trying to think too, like how
if you saw the guy with like the witch's hat, he was the warlock.
Like kind of like how
the knight had the shield and the sword, and so whenever you change class, your appearance would change, not necessarily your gear.
Because then it would be cool that you could do a tabletop game like that with pre-painted minis where they're fixed.
Yes,
nice scale.
Yeah, and then the cards would change your path. And then dude, the possibilities are almost endless for DLC type expansions of cards and classes and subclasses. You could
monster packs.
You could sell class packs. You could sell monster packs. You could sell terrain packs. You could sell, if you really wanted to get into it, you could probably do more detailed terrain. Have that as a DLC, or if you did it on Kickstarter, you could do it as the next level reward tiers. You can you want the better terrain. It costs a little more money. Blah blah blah. But you could probably do it with a cardboard system with like overlays. Or like little terrain pieces, like cardboard
tokens,
that
terrain
cover,
tokens.
Yeah, you can maybe randomize it, and but the leveling system is fantastic, and again, it definitely tweaks my interest because of the RPG element to it. And anytime you have a campaign leveling process, you got me hooked. Yeah. That's like an easy trope to get me into.
It seems like it's something that could happen because a lot of companies are going back to these old video games like the Street Fighter fighting game, going to miniatures, tabletop games. So companies maybe are going back to those older games and like, we can bring this to the tabletop. People want to play games.
Those Street Fighter minis are fantastic too. They do a great job.
I'm thinking in that vein, looking at those minis and having them translate into that scale is great scale. Yeah. They're big.
They're big, they're chunky, they're not small, they're already painted, and they're painted well.
Yeah. Having all the monsters and stuff, that could be really cool. Yeah.
So I think Waylon's idea of Fun Fuzzy Tactics would be a fantastic idea. I can't personally think of a game that I would like transferred over because most of my gaming is either sports oriented, or it's FPS, or it's a game that was tabletop already. Yeah, for me, Dawn of War. Total War for the Warhammer.
Star Wars games are already
games. Are already games, and I'm looking for video game versions of them so I can play on my own.
Yeah,
we did. I come from the other direction.
We did dabble with the idea before we started filming about having how could you translate an arena battle royale system game,
Warzone.
Oh yeah, just for that IP into. Or any IP like that in an arena kind of system, like how could you translate that when the only fear we were saying is like not knowing where your opponent is, and on a tabletop system, everybody's on the board, like you'd have to have a really interesting mechanic to sell a game.
It's very hard because how are we going to hide? Because for me, I'm not sure if it's just me, but I think most of the excitement behind those games is not knowing where your opponent is.
Yeah, the stealth part of it.
And if I'm playing across from you and 4 or 5 other players, even if you do like battle royale kind of thing, I see where you are.
Yeah,
I know you're over there. Even if I have to go and acquire gear and equipment to fight you later on in the game, I know where you are.
Yeah, it would be. You'd have to come up with an interesting mechanic that would.
More than half the excitement is where is he? Oh my God, are they in the schoolyard? Are they over here? Are they in the police station?
And as most in battle royale system, as the circle closes, how would they translate that to the system? It would be interesting just for someone with that kind of thinking to a system like that. I think it would make or break the game. If you figure that system out in a board game element where you have a lot of people and they slowly shrink down. But
like we also said though, there was a game like that. It was Frag.
Yes.
It had a simple board. Really, it was just board, no terrain. It had lines and walls on the board itself.
It was probably of its era too. It wasn't even like a paper mat.
It wasn't even cardboard. It was paper mat. And there wasn't minis. It was tokens. Like our characters were like a token.
Yes, and it was like almost like
the
Running Man grid. It was like nothing. It was just walls. Yeah.
But it was it was you saw where everybody was, but it was still fun running around trying to open up a box, seeing if you get a gun. Yes. Do you have ammo for it? Did you get the missile launcher? Did you get the
Unreal Tournament
MP5?
It was Unreal Tournament.
Yes,
just get the insta-gib gun.
It was that's right. It was Frag. But just the name of the game is simple.
Yeah. So. But maybe taking that older game and bringing it into a modern IP or anything else that has a little more flavor, better miniatures.
And give it the...
That game would have been cool with miniatures and a proper board and like today's how the production of most games are. So
the look and appearance would be, dramatically increased. It's just a matter of does the inability to hide hurt that kind of game? Because that to me is...
Yeah, how do you find them?
Most of the excitement behind that is, dropping in. You can see where everybody's dropping in, but once they land... Yeah. It's where are they?
Yeah, especially with ranged weapons and stuff. It's kind of like, Yeah, that's interesting. I don't think it would work, but someone one day might figure that out.
All right, so what's
the game that I was thinking about is one of my favorite games. I actually have two. Thinking back on two games that I would like to see. Dead Space is one of my favorite horror games. And the claustrophobic feel, it had that Space Hulk feel of claustrophobia, dark tunnels.
Which they could do. I mean, we've seen them do Space Hulk with the terrain and the hallways.
Yeah, and having the xenomorph, like the creations of the marker, and having Isaacs walk around the hallways and stuff with missions maybe, having to shut down the generator or timers, different levels.
Maybe put timers on, turns,
the stress of a timer on that game would be,
That's probably where you could make that work, just a turn-based, you only have so many turns to do it.
And it maybe doesn't even have to be the main character from the games. It could be a search party reviving on a vessel in the same kind of world, that same kind of feel.
Yeah, the derelict spacecraft, what's on it.
Yeah, I always liked that game. And then thinking back too, a stealth game would be really interesting, a group stealth game. I used to love, I played hours of Thief, all those Thief games.
Yes, yeah.
And having a game where a party has to not be detected, almost like Snake in oh my God.
The PlayStation. Oh my goodness, it escapes me.
Metal Gear Solid.
Getting old, dude.
Oh, boy, that's bad.
Either we're getting old or our library is getting too big.
Metal Gear,
we need an upgrade.
Those games were not being detected by the enemy and having paths that, take you through the game and the board game that
we'd have to have
basically just don't collect gear, collect weapons and stuff, collect your money and get out without being detected.
We'd have to have the Metal Gear soundboard when we're playing that, though.
When
you get caught, yeah.
And Thief was great because you use the shadow, so there would be almost light counters. Are you in shadow? You roll and then have to get through the light and be spotted, and there's and modifiers.
They've incorporated that in other games, like in StarCraft. They have the smaller missions where you have to sneak into a base, and then they have the view of the guards, and you have to avoid
the
view. You got to sneak in and out. I think it was with Nova. She's the stealth sniper. And you'd have to sneak around and not get caught by sentries. So that kind of
could translate
into a board game.
But I think the idea of just those kind of seeing the miniatures, seeing the tabletop, those two games that I would definitely.
IP is always key with that kind of stuff, especially for us. I mean, in our experience, it's if you like the IP, it's an easier dive.
Yeah.
If it's an IP that's new and original, sometimes we get a little hesitant. I don't know if it's snobbish on our part or if we're just old grouchy gamers, but Infinity is a game that tabletop. It had the stealth option where it wasn't a whole unit, but you had the one guy. He would have multiple bases.
You wouldn't know which one is the guy.
The
in the
opponent
field.
wouldn't know which one, but behind the scenes, you'd have to mark. Of the 4 bases, all right, number 3 is where my mini really is. And you would move him around, and then that gave the feeling of the stealth.
Yeah, not knowing where he's on the field, and and then you had pretty much your warband hunting guys down and stuff is typical skirmish game.
But for me, Infinity's IP was always
it was cool. It was cool.
Do I really like it, or do I don't kind of like it?
Well, Frag's a perfect example. That game system, Frag. If it was something else, another IP of any game system that you really like, you tend to dive into those things more than just the generic fantasy, sci-fi. But I think those games, it'd be interesting to see. With Kickstarter, anything's possible today. You could really dive into all these. People are looking for IPs to make into games. So Street Fighter is an example of that. I think going back to an old.
Yeah, look at that's an old
classic
IP
like that,
and those console games are still popular as ever, the fighting games. So you just it goes to IP. It's Street Fighter.
Yeah.
You're going to try it, Matter of fact, Wayland's the one that actually brings the Street Fighter game to the store. He got it on Kickstarter. And
I wonder if they could...
people have been enjoying it.
And someone mentioned that they're doing a Mortal Kombat version, one of those?
I don't know. I don't know if it's been announced yet, or they're.
Someone
I don't know if that's
hinted at it. I mean,
I don't know if that's hope and hype.
There's another game. There's a game that translates. If you could make a Street Fighter board game from a video game, Mortal Kombat. Someone mentioned in the Discord mentioned Tekken. It's a lot of those games that has a whole list of characters. Forget Neo Geo and all the Neo Juke games we used to play.
Darkstalkers.
Darkstalkers would be awesome. So there's those kind of games they lend to. The translation?
Yeah. Well, Neo Geo had Hattori Hanzo? What game was that?
Samurai Showdown.
Samurai Showdown. Yeah.
Many hours pumped into Samurai Showdown.
Well, again, another game that could be a board game.
Yeah, no, yeah.
But again, it goes into that same vein, what Street Fighter has seemed to successfully landed on.
Yeah, all that list of characters. That giant.
They have terrain, they have the trees. They even have, I think they even have the car. Where you have to break the car
rack
up.
Of missiles on Guile's board. You can get thrown into them and they blow up.
The boombox. on the board. So it can be done, I think. So all right. So for me, again, it was the Final Fantasy Tactics, and for you, it was
I would take Dead Space or Thief. I like those two kind of different theologies of games to do stealth, maybe like mission based. But yeah, definitely take those.
Okay,
please make them.
Please, just give it time. It will come. And then we have our second question, which is probably a little bit more up my alley. And this comes from our buddy at the Points of Articulation.
Yes,
he's our friend on YouTube that does the reviews of the models, more of on a collector modeling side as opposed to the gaming side.
Yep.
We like the gaming of it. He likes the models and the make of it, which is what he does. So definitely check out the Points of Articulation. But he asks, for people who are new to games like D&D, who want to be a dungeon master and create a campaign with a good story, what would you guys say is the most important factors that a dungeon master should utilize to make the experience a fun one?
Interesting.
So I'll let you start with that one, and I'll...
I've DM'd a little bit, and I've played more than I've DM'd. But I think you'll agree that for a new DM, I think one of the most important thing is keeping everybody engaged. You don't want anyone sitting at the table and they're not necessarily doing anything. It's finding those mechanics in the game that give them the opportunity to shine, give the rogue a trap to disarm, maybe get poisoned, someone get poisoned, give the cleric something to like get rid of, or like there's those elements of, or just even the role-playing aspect, being able to talk in certain things, lending to someone's expertise of their character.
Make them feel useful.
Give them something to do. Don't let anybody sit there not doing anything. I always found when I played and I just didn't have any engagement, it's always that like, I'm going to go look on my phone. And we didn't have phones back then. So it's like, let me go look in the book and read something, because I wasn't doing anything at that time. And I was always engaged. That's the kind of player I was. I always, if it comes to me, what am I going to do? But like, you could lose people.
We come from a less distracting era. Like when we were playing D&D, we were playing D&D.
True, yeah.
I didn't have the phone. That's a constant
we
distraction.
We were each other's distraction. That was our problem then. It's
going off on a tangent, having a weird conversation while the DM is engaged with somebody else. And that's why, like you're saying, is give everybody a moment. Give them the time to shine. Give the rogue his moment. Give the cleric his moment. Give the fighter his moment. Let him break down the door. Let him smash somebody's face. Let him intimidate somebody. Let the wizard have a useful moment with his magic or with his insight. Let the rogue have his trap, as you said, or let the bard have a moment to maybe entertain or distract.
Yeah. Inspire,
of course. We could get it. That's a whole nother element. But I always look at it as first and foremost for me, for new players especially, and a new DM, group size. You have to. I know it's hard because nowadays it seems very popular, D&D. Everybody's talking about it. Everybody that comes into the store says, I've always wanted to play, but I don't have the group. Or they do have the group, and it's like 8 people. We want to get started. And that is too many people for a new DM, and for new players, because it just reinforces your aspect of keeping them engaged. It's nigh impossible, especially for a new DM and new players, to keep everybody vested and interested if there's 8 party members.
Even in combat, like think about it. By the time you get around to the 8th combatant, it could be a half hour sometimes.
You might as well go and pick up the food while I'm on this guy's turn. And that's not good. That's not good. Especially, you can get away with veteran players because they understand that. They know, all right, there's going to be a little bit of a lull here. They also won't be distracting. They'll maybe put their nose in a book, or they'll have a quiet conversation about what's happening in the game. They'll still be involved. They'll still be listening. There'll still be attention on what's happening, even though it's not their turn. But a newer player who doesn't understand exactly what's happening, he might get distracted or feel like it's not fun, it's not engaging. So 4 to 5 PCs is my recommendation.
Isn't the game is built, 5th edition is based around a core of 4.
4 is usually the base number. You can do 5. Yeah. In my experience with this system, it's not if you're an experienced DM, you can do even bigger. Like I'm saying, if a guy like, I've been playing a long time, I could probably handle 6 players, even 8 if I had to, as long as they were experienced. I can't engage 8 new players. I will not be able to keep them enthralled. It will not be the positive experience I would like them to have in their first foray into
just to get them hooked on D&D is that
well,
kind of like,
you know me. It's all about more gamers. One of us. We'll go back to that. I want more, and I want to make sure it's not an NPE. I hate the negative play experience. I want everyone having a good time. I want them engaged. I want them to have fun. So keep it small, keep them engaged, put the spotlight on them. Like going back to what you're saying, put the spotlight on them. Say, hey, this is your turn. Don't put too much pressure on them because some, that goes into personalities. Some people don't like the spotlight. Well,
the talkers will talk and the quiet ones will stay quiet, but you kind of can goad them into coming out in certain instances.
Not just a dungeon master, but I like to say dungeon moderator. You have to, the extrovert can take over the group. And it's not a bad thing. It's just that he's excited and he's into it and he's a role player and he's all there and he's maybe a little loud and boisterous, which is all good. Nothing bad there. But what happens is if there's an introvert at the table, that person will just fall into the shadows and they'll never come out. And every now and then they'll just like roll a die and every 20 minutes, and that's not fun. That
might be the role they want to do.
It can be, but you have to flush that out.
Yes. Yeah, and it's also the fact that someone who might be more of the extrovert they themselves might be that, but their character, if that's how they're playing this character, is fine. But when it comes to certain skills that they don't excel in, like I didn't put anything in like intimidation or whatever, but the quiet guy has that. Yeah. And he's good at doing that. His character, that's his moment to shine, and he has the opportunity to, hey, so-and-so, you want to give it a shot and see if you can convince them, and like that's where they have like where their character can help them forward too.
Another point to add is before first session, a lot of people are doing it now, and I highly recommend it, is session 0. Session 0 is sit down with either in a group setting if you can, or one-on-one as the DM with each player as they are creating their character, and discuss the finer points of a rogue, of a warrior, of the stats. What is strength for? What is dexterity for? What is intelligence for? And how it applies to each class, and what your role is going to be expected to be. Not has to be, just expected. Because you can, have fun. It's like you said, how do you have fun? You have fun just by doing what you want to do. Yeah. As long as it's not at the expense of anybody else.
True. And in the new edition, I think anyone can either disarm or use like thieves' tools.
Yeah, there's a lot of basic skills that everybody can do.
Rogues are really good at it. You know what I mean? But so it's there's definitely more shared than there was back in the day.
But session 0 helps a lot with that. It gets a lot of that Q&A things that they might be curious about that don't interfere or interrupt you while you're having your actual first session when the heat is on. Yeah. And the spotlight is on you.
Yeah, that's something you want to figure out while they're playing too, I think also too that session 0 is also, if it's a party or a group of people that you're friends with and you feel like you're going to move on past session 0 with, it's also discussing the goals. Like what do you want your character to do in the world? Where do you want your character to go? I mean, you know me, I'm crazy. I make a new guy. He's pathed in he already has a path from level 1 to level 20. He'll never get to level 20, but I know where I'm taking him as a character, his personality, what his goals are, why he's adventuring.
Yeah, and that's a veteran player. You're there already, and you're engaged. Hours before we even play D&D, for the weeks before, you're in. But for a new player, it's a little harder to have that path, and that's why session 0 helps that. Yes. You can help them give them an idea what they might be trying to get to. What it's like an acting. I mean, we're role playing, right? It's a role playing game. You're acting, right? So, what's my motivation? What do they always say when they're making a movie? Yeah, what's my motivation in the scene? Yeah. Well, what's your character's motivation? Is he the my parents were killed, Batman, Dark Knight kind of thing, and I want vengeance.
Backstory helps.
Yeah. A backstory, again, session 0 can give you, what the way you want to act. Yeah. And that helps a lot. Give the character a little persona before they even come to the table.
Yeah.
If you could do that, that makes it that much easier when they're at the table.
It makes it easier for you to role play because you already know where this person's coming from.
Yeah. So for a new player, and even for a new DM, it's a lot easier for the DM if the player already knows, like, kind of how he wants to act.
Yeah, how do I fit you in my story now? Because I have a story, but now you're taking, he wants to be like this, or this will fit into where I want to take them, or he could be, a part of this area of my story. It helps you kind of mold it better and bring them through it.
And that's why D&D has such excellent replay value
Oh,
because
'cause it's limitless.
you could always make a new character and a new style, or you can even just change the one you have. Maybe something happened in its adventures that maybe he's come to a life milestone. Maybe he lost a friend. Maybe he saw something in a different light. Maybe he was a goodly priest that saw some stuff in his religion or his faith that gave him doubt, and now he's changing his path a little bit, and that's why you maybe multi-class differently. I mean, there's so many things you can do to it. But again, as a new player, a new DM, limit party size.
Simplicity too on the DM side, like those first few adventures, right? You give them, not grand scope, keep it really simple
Give
scope.
them the milestone XP system helps a lot with that. Some newer DMs have a hard time, calculating XP and making that decision. Am I making them too strong? Am I making them too weak? The milestone system that they have in play is excellent for new DMs because you could say when they get to a certain point in the story, they attain a level, and it gives them a goal that they achieved, and that is great for players and for a DM. Both.
Yes, both. And no calculations.
Characters getting to level 2 is not just an achievement for the players; it's an achievement for the DM. You as a play group have made progress, and you have a milestone that you got to, and it feels good for everybody.
Yeah.
And that just that's just more happiness in a group. Another thing that we often do now, maybe it's just me, but I always try to ingrain in my players that it is a game of heroic adventure. So everybody wants to be, I want to be the grumpy guy in the group, and I'm not talking to nobody and whatever. And that player can be hard to deal with because he's just antisocial in a social-based game. So that can be a hard thing to tackle. I mean, we can maybe get into that deeper into a discussion. Maybe one day we'll have a full-on discussion about D&D and how to play and whatever.
Yeah.
But
you'll be able to guide that person through with your story, even reluctantly or unbeknownst to them, they're getting put into the situation that you want them to get into.
I just like to push the idea that even though they might have inner disagreements as views as a character, they are working together, and they have to accept that, even though they might not totally agree with a path that the group is taking. In the end, they have to work together. If they don't, it just makes it tough for the party to progress.
Yeah. Veteran players also have, I know when we've been playing all these years, I understand that Dan puts a lot of hard work into the adventure. So I go out of my way not to derail anything. I'm like, these breadcrumbs are laid out by the DM. I'm not going to decide, you know what, I'm going to ignore all those. I'm just going to head to the mountains and build a cabin.
We're going into the woods.
You're being given a story guidelines to rope you in, so don't fight them. A lot of times, as a player, you also have to help the DM unfold the story. There's certain things you could decide to go in your own way at certain points, but the breadcrumbs are there for you, so don't fight them. It helps him because he spent all that time.
Eat the bread; it's good.
Yeah, eat the bread. Yeah,
the bread is good. Trust me,
delicious.
Trust me. So I'll give you bread, and then I'll give you pizza, and then I'll give you candy.
Yes, but then once you get to you don't take those.
You can't. How could you have your pudding if you haven't had any meat?
Yeah, it's fishing. It's fishing. The lures come in. If you ignore those lures, it's the fisherman goes home.
Yeah, and don't worry about epic storytelling as a new DM. Again, keep it small, keep it simple to start.
Yeah,
let them have a goal. You'll attain that goal. Maybe if not the first session, maybe within the first 3 sessions, you got that goal. You got there.
Goblins.
And then,
they're the perfect
you love
little.
to hate goblins, right?
Yeah.
Kobolds.
Yeah.
Right. A small little village in the middle of the woods. Farmers getting attacked by strange little creatures coming out at night.
Yeah.
And, that kind of thing.
My cow's missing. Go figure it out.
Yeah. I mean, not everybody knows what a goblin is. Maybe you just didn't encounter. You just became an adventurer. Why did you become an adventurer? And that's where veteran players start to have a hard time. Oh, it's goblins again.
Well, yeah, and knowing the monster manual in and out is kind of
and that's a whole other challenge. Keeping veteran players interested, adding tweaks to creatures. There's a guy who recently I've been using the new kobolds he made. He made a whole leveling up of kobolds, more powerful kobolds with
which there should be. There should
be which is fantastic.
Level 4, kobolds.
And it's kobolds again. No,
these kobolds, overlord.
Kobolds can level 2, my friend. Yeah. Wait, what?
That's cool. I think that the longevity of the older monsters that you might pass up as you gain levels and you don't see them again. But yeah, simplicity.
Keep it simple. Keep it fun. Keep it goal oriented. Let them get to their goals quick. and keep them engaged.
Yeah, that's
Don't spend too much time on one person. Just spread it around. Keep them all involved. Keep them talking. Like try to make them talk amongst each other and plan. You know?
NPCs can help with that too. If you have an NPC non-player character that you're controlling to strike up conversations and stuff on downtime.
Yeah. Even if they know it's like, all right, well, here comes the NPC. We're probably going the wrong direction now because this guy showed up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we know
I mean, it's a trope. It happens, you know.
But it's a vehicle in the story that can, you know, sometimes things get derailed. Oh, this guy's got information that leads you in the right direction.
Let's go back to.
Don't kill the NPCs.
Don't kill the NPCs.
That's a whole different.
That can, well, you know, sometimes you have to, but don't kill the nice ones. They're usually they help you, and that's usually the DM. That NPC is the DM saying, "Guys, you're going the wrong way.
Yeah.
Turn around, you dum-dums. Yeah. It's over there. Maybe I didn't make the point. You know, go this way. You know, that's usually when Salazar Ramando shows up.
Yes, our famous NPC who shows up with his boat and takes us.
Hello, my friends. It seems you have strayed from the path. Yeah. And they all know Salazar's here. We're going the wrong way.
And my only recommendation to new players is someone always has to stay up at night on watch. Don't ever all go to sleep around the campfire because.
Well, wait. What are you saying? Are you trying to say something that I always do something at night when people are sleeping?
To me, when the DM starts rolling dice and you're all sleeping and you don't know, like, and you wake up.
Why? Whatever do you mean?
You never wake up. I mean, come on. We've had instances where, like, you know, someone's always got to be on watch.
Are you traumatized?
Yeah,
Have I traumatized?
I'm not traumatized. I never lost a character. Someone we know lost a character in the Underdark who decided not to wake anybody up and go off. His character heard something and not wake anyone else up. Let me go off into the caverns and see. And then we woke up and that person's character was gone.
Bez, while the party is sleeping, you hear a twig snap in the woods. What do? Oh, I'm going to go off by myself and leave my friend sleeping helpless on the ground and go see what's going on in the woods.
Yep. So you always wake someone up if you're going to explore.
That's the automatic reaction.
Yeah, don't take it on by yourself.
I wake everyone up. Yeah. And wake them up in a proper manner. Right? I've had a couple players.
Won't even go there.
Waking up people with the wrong kind of fluids.
Yeah.
Well, we'll end
it there because that's like
we'll get that another day. Yeah, that's a deeper D&D conversation.
My personal advice is just
so my buddy at Points of Articulation, keep the group small, keep it focused, and just make sure they have all time to shine so they can just stay vested and interested.
And keep reviewing those X-Wing ships because they're awesome.
Yes, indeed.
Well, we mentioned earlier some topics we wanted to talk about, specifically about allocations and the problems we're having in the pandemic, during the pandemic, almost at the almost post-pandemic here. We're getting to almost the end of this, but we have the issues of we just can't get certain products, or you're only getting so much. So we want to discuss, why, what, how those allocations are affecting the store and us as gamers, and maybe even go into further, like how are we staying engaged while, we don't have certain things in front of us. What do you think?
Well, distribution-wise, every company that the store carries is seeing some kind of blowback from the pandemic. We have pandemic is an issue. I'm sure interest is another issue. But in some cases, interest has actually spiked during the pandemic.
Look at GW's profits.
GW's profits, I think, specifically point to a spike in interest. However, it's really simple supply and demand. Demand has spiked tremendously because of pandemic and because of shutdowns and because of
where it's made. I mean, it's made overseas. So
Brexit was an issue for GW. I'm sure of it. Shipping, it comes, the cargo containers, production was an issue. Shutdowns of factories. GW actually shut down completely. Website, everything for, I think it was almost 2 months.
Yeah, it was a while.
Completely shut down. So they were only selling, they weren't selling anything. And then when they did reopen, what they were selling was inventory they had pre-pandemic, right? So everybody's home. We're stuck. We're on lockdown. What do? Oh, I'm a modeler. Yeah, granted, maybe I can't play, but you know what? Let me get paint on that army that I've been, that's all gray on the shelf. Oh, you know what? I've been wanting to do this kind of army. Let me get it. They actually released 9th edition in the heart of a pandemic, August, September of last year.
The Indominus box. And it had its own issues, the Indominus box with its...
Which obviously was probably, built 7-8 months before the pandemic.
Yeah.
Because they do things, almost a year or two ahead of time. But there still was distribution issues. The allocations were not that much of a problem at first, but as the store was into its 5th and 6th months, we started to see allocations.
And there's probably stuff that,
backorder.
it's probably, and that's probably that supply chain waiting for it to come overseas, or maybe it's stuck in customs, and then it's, container issues, how much stuff is really coming over.
Even if it's here, people are home, truckers were home, they weren't out, things weren't being shipped, things were stuck in warehouses. How many warehouse workers do they have? Normally they have 200 workers. They're running on skeleton crews, if at all. So all those issues were starting to affect the store's inventory. And two of the words that became dirty words, one of them was allocations. The other was backorder. And backorder was the worst because backorder means it's not even made.
No,
they don't have it anywhere.
No, it's going back to the main part of supply chain. Is it being made in China or is it stuck there?
Mm-hmm. Now, GW started allocating, and it still has not changed. And I'm of the opinion that we have not seen the worst of it yet. I think we're going to see it more and more. Currently, the store is allocated with the new releases of the vampires. I'm only allowed 2 of every product.
And that's scary because that's a big wave of a factions. A lot of miniatures are coming for that faction.
It's a new book. It's new minis. It's minis people have waited for a long time. We talked about the Blood Knights in last episode and how that's affordable plastic Blood Knights that are fantastic minis, but because I don't blame them. It's no fault of their own. It's the pandemic. Sure. It's affecting everything.
But it's hard
so
to.
Many levels.
There's also that argument of this is like the lifeboat rationing for local game stores. Yeah. But hey, it's available on our website because when you see it go out on the website, then you could say, okay, it's not available anywhere. But sometimes you go on their website and you're like, hey, they're still selling that, and like they're telling you can't have any, or you're not getting any more. But
and it's not just GW that does that.
No, it's everybody.
WotC's doing it too. WotC's doing it. Time Spirals. When it first came out, it was allocated. It was hard to get, and then we sold out the first week. I tried to get more, never got any more.
And that's always concerning too, because there's no. It's not like there's any miniatures. No. You're not talking about aside from the boxing, the wrappers, and it's paper all the way through.
It's pretty simple in the grand scheme of all the things that we carry here at Red Seal. Miniatures are a lot more complex. We're talking about molds. We're talking about shipping issues. We're talking about the instructions for it and all gameplay rules for it. There's a lot more going on there. Whereas Magic, in the end, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to belittle the creation process behind WotC's game. Balance issues are a big thing, but in the end, they're just printing cardboard.
Yeah,
and that's not that hard to do. And I don't know if they decided to make it a limited print run, but all I do know is that we had it the first week. It was gone. We never got any more. It became this hunt. Everybody was on the hunt. We were going to Walmart, going to Target, blah, blah, blah. But what irked me as a store owner was the fact that sporadically it would pop up on Amazon being sold by WotC. So you're cutting me out.
You have there's a storehouse with loads of it somewhere.
Why are you cutting me out? Because you need money that bad? In the end, in the Magic world specifically, I was always of the opinion that LGSs are the lifeblood of that game. Granted, it is Arena and you can play at home digitally, but even me who's been playing since creation of Magic, Arena is a fun distraction for me every once in a while. Like if I'm home, especially during the pandemic, I couldn't play.
Yeah, I think digital makes it easier to
so
play.
Jump on, play, get some access to cards that I couldn't because I couldn't go, didn't have a store even at the time. But I still prefer to play Magic in store with people across the table. Sealed events especially is one of my favorite ways to play. Draft is another fantastic way to play. Commander, 4-player Commander on a table, the camaraderie, the politics, blah, blah, blah. But if I can't sell the product, this goes back into this whole distribution issue, not just in WotC, but Asmodee with X-Wing product. We were talking about earlier how some of that whole wave is still I can't get it.
And all their products still some are available on their website, and some are out of print.
Yeah, I haven't noticed Asmodee so much doing that where they hold product and they're selling it on their own. But I have seen GW do it, and I have seen WotC do it, and I know that they in the end they're a business and they had to protect themselves. I get that, but don't forget us. Don't forget the local game store. Don't forget that when things are running and running well, we're the ones that enable the hype and stuff like that. And so maybe it was a little bit of circling the wagons for all these bigger companies. I mean, in the end, they're a much bigger company. They got a lot more to worry about than I do as an LGS. I get it. I know I'm not stupid. I get it. It's a business, and they have to survive, because if they don't survive, there's
no game.
There's no game. So you have to take it with a grain of salt. That you hope that they're doing it just to make sure that it saves the game, because I don't want the game to die. As a gamer and as a store owner, I would prefer them to, all right, fine, if they hoard a little bit of the profits while this is going on, that's acceptable. I can deal with it. Don't make it the norm.
Yes, and then, well,
6
that's the
months
thing.
a year down
while
the road,
it's going on, but once if there ever is, well, there really is no normal in that sense.
Yeah.
But when things are back to the production level is the same, don't let this be the new model, because they know they're making their profit off it anyway. They've sold X amount, they've made their money, and now it's like let's leave it at that, and let the secondary and tertiary markets fight it out for all that stuff. That becomes rough.
And a lot of stores closed down, which affected their sales. I get it. Again, you could see, I mean, just do the economics of it, right? If all these stores are closing, that means Watsy's not selling product because these stores are closed, so they have to sell it some other way. Maybe I'm not buying enough. I am a new store. I'm not buying as much as some established stores that have been around we are WPN here at Red Seal, but there's the enhanced WPN.
Oh, it's different tiers.
Different tiers. So, and there are stores, we have some local stores around here that have been around for years, and I'm sure they're ordering 10 times the product that we're ordering here. So it's just, you have to be a realist about it. I give them all a little bit of a break, understanding that they have to circle the wagons and stay afloat. I mean, they are $1 billion business, it seems like. But I still just I'm an optimist. All right, just hopefully they prove me right, and that when normalcy starts to return and production is no longer an issue, that we go back to, it's here.
Yeah, it's there, and it's not scarce, so it's not like this box is X amount of dollars because.
And listen, the bottom line is too, GW knows if I get it, I'm going to sell it, and once I buy it from them, they made their money. I mean, it just looked like they were trying to make a little bit more by selling it.
It's a double dip on their part, but that's
they're getting the full price and not giving the LGS its cut, right? So that's what looked like bad business. But again, I'll give them a break. Going forward, hopefully that changes.
Yeah.
Fingers
crossed.
Fingers crossed, because it's not just GW and it's not just WotC. All these, especially smaller companies, are probably doing the same thing. In the end, they want me to buy the product because they make their money, and then I got to get the product out to the customers because they know that's customers are the lifeblood of any game. If they're not enjoying the game's going to die. And if they can't get their hands on the game's going to die. And that's where we go into the second part.
Yeah, and that definitely leads into the next question is, how do we keep, as gamers, how do we stay engaged in the games when there's not stuff on the shelf, or we want to, or can you order me this? And I have to tell you what you're, it's
and that's
back ordered. That's a tough.
And don't say that. It's a terrible word. That word is, it's, people ask me all the time, hey, Dan, can I get, it's on back order, hey, Dan, can I get X-Wing ships, blah, 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 or the Armada stuff starting to pick up in the store. People playing more and more Armada in the store, and I can't get it. And Phil, matter of fact, our production guy, Phil, just asked me to get him some Seppies, and I couldn't get him the fighters, the squadrons. They're on back order.
And then when you go look for them, they're being gouged because there's really not. It's not like they're being sold by Asmodee still, and they're being gouged because they're not around.
And that's one of the terrible things about being a store owner is I see if it's not available and I have it. If they look online, it's 10 times the price of what I'm charging for it, right? And then if I do have it, and they have it online as well, it's like a quarter of the price. So it's like. If it's readily available, online looks so much cheaper. If it's not readily available, they're gouging. And it's just bad look on both sides.
Yeah.
For customers, both sides of it looks bad. And both sides, it hurts the store. They don't want to be gouged, so they come to me and I don't have it. And then they come to me and I charge them MSRP, and they're like, well, they can look online and you can see it, see it on Amazon for 35% off or something like that, That's why one of the things I love about GW is they do MAP pricing, minimum advertised pricing. That helps, in my opinion, an LGS because they can't go below a certain price. So that makes it a little easier. And GW allows us to do that online pricing as well.
And I guess as a community too, it's kind of like finding the alternate ways to play games. Like things like Aces High and stuff. If like you get a lot of people playing an alternate version of the core game or the core system, so you can like Commander, everybody gravitates to Commander because it's fun. You see a lot of cards, you got a big deck, a lot of options, and I guess if you're trying to play Standard or those where there's not the product to do it right now, or you couldn't at the time, you couldn't use those pre-release kits at the time. You couldn't have in-store events.
Have in-store events, which they were getting away from. I think the 28th. In the States for WotC.
So
GW's also announced that they're going to give some new info.
And Warhammer World just opened in the UK.
So things are opening up.
Yes.
Again, goes back into maybe normalcy returns and we get out of this crazy time for retail and whatever.
And I guess in the interim, it's just us finding, I guess it's that solidarity of a community staying together and just playing, keep playing and keep doing what you're doing and have fun with it, waiting for the other side of the coin.
The store does not stay open without its customers. Without its customers being happy. And to make customers happy, I have to give them what they want at an affordable price and provide them a place to engage and play the game. So a pandemic is hurting me tenfold. I can only have so many people in the store. I have the product, but only have so much of the product. So even if I do get people in the store, they might not be able to get what they want. So this goes back into engagement. Even if I have an initial release of it, and then the hype builds, and then I don't have any more to get, and then the hype dies. And then now how do I keep engaging? There's been
hype death. That's like a whole new. It's like a whole
because that's like
term.
That's like, to me, the worst thing is you get hype and you buy into it and then you're looking for more and it's not there. And you go through it's like a drug, right? We call it plastic crack. We call it cardboard crack. When you can't get it and you just you start to fade away from it and interest dies. And if they go and do something else, the store's in trouble.
True.
Right? Not that we're in trouble, but I mean, that could be the process. And then what I'm dancing around is like, can I get it? Can I get it? Can I get it? Always, and that's the constant question. I have customers all the time, and hey Dan, can I get this? It's on back order. Hey Dan, can I get this? It's on back order. Hey Dan, can I get this? I got allocated.
Well, hopefully this is we're at the light of the end of the tunnel. So
I hope so because the word allocation and the word back order have become very dirty words, and I can't. I'm done with it. Unfortunately, I know it's not done. Even with this current GW orders that are coming in, the new vampires, they were allocated again.
But I feel like they're not going to go anywhere because that is a big thing.
It'll be there, and that's what I tell people, especially with GW product. It's not magic, it's not time spirals. Standard sets they'll come. It'll be give it a week or two, and it'll get back in stock because they'll print it.
Give it time.
Give it time. The jumpstart stuff, they want that to be a staple product. The only thing I can preach is patience and hope
and solidarity.
As
a community, in the end, that's all we could do is just in the end.
Hey, if you like the product and you like the store, just hang tight, and things will hopefully come around. I mean, they are. It happens. I get second wave. I get third wave. It's coming, and it should get better. So I think we're not seeing the true effect of it yet. I think we're still looking at 6 months to a year for them to catch up. People are getting back to work. The machines are getting turned back on. Distribution is opening up. They got the ship out of the canal. Yeah. Finally. Yeah.
Jammed in the canal.
Yeah. So
that sounds horrible, by the way.
It does, but it's happening. All right. So just hold on hope.
Yep.
And come down to the store and hang out and we'll get through this together.
In the end, have fun.
Yep. Never stop gaming.
And as always, leave your questions below and we'll get to them here on the podcast.
Thanks to Waylane and our buddy from the Points of Articulation for taking the time to put some questions.
Yeah, good questions.
Hope we got enough info for you and answered them fully. And then, tune in next time. We'll have another episode in about a week from today.